Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: "Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way." Welcome to another episode of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I am so honored today to have Kaylee Phillips with us. She is the founder of Suede Coy Boutique and just has such an incredible story to share with us. She resides in Wyoming with her husband and 2 children. So Kaylee, thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you, Dakota. This is exciting.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have a lot to unpack today. For our listeners, I just want to kind of bring them up to speed on who you are and what you're all about if they have not already been following along. So I don't know that I can even do you justice at this point. So fire away.
All right, amazing. I'm going to go back to my childhood. I think that's kind of just going to give people a better understanding of my story and where I'm headed and how I've gotten to where I am, obviously. So growing up, I grew up in the Western lifestyle, rodeo, ranching. So my dad actually was a professional bareback rider for many years, and he and his brother Mark, so my dad is Marvin Garrett, his brother Mark Garrett, bareback riders, and I grew up watching, that lifestyle. And my mom, gosh, I just have to say to all the rodeo wives out there, y'all are amazing, because I think I've learned so much from just watching my mom as a little girl, watching her be so supportive in my dad chasing his rodeo dreams, his rodeo career. My dad, he was on the road a lot, and my mom and he met in high school, and high school sweethearts. She did not know a thing about rodeo or ranching, and she loved this man. And when he said, "I'm going to go hit the road and I'm going to rodeo as a career," she was like, okay. Okay. And she obviously just didn't have a full understanding of what that meant, but she took on that role so flawlessly. From my perspective, she stayed home at the ranch, and we were out in the snow. I was bundled up in the tractor with her, feeding cows and just making sure everything got done outside and inside. And I have a brother and a sister. So she was a stay-at-home mom running the place while my dad was out pursuing his rodeo career and his rodeo dreams and actually being super successful with it. So through that, I just think that I could never picture myself not being tied to the Western industry, the rodeo ranching lifestyle. It's just kind of who I am. And I think that we can all agree if we're part of this industry, it's inside of us. It's in our blood. And so I'm very grateful to have grown up watching that example of, okay, here's a supportive wife, just doing whatever needs to be done to make sure that my dad is out living his dream, but also providing for us back home, Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's my childhood. And so I think just from a really young age, I've always been a dreamer. My dad is that example of, here's a dream, and how can you pursue this dream with like your whole entire like heart and passion? Because if you know my dad, Marvin, he's just that. Like he absolutely just the passion he has for rodeo still to this day, even though he's retired, wishes he didn't have to be retired. You could just see that being through him. And so I got that dreaming mentality from him, but I learned so much from my mom on the other side of that, as far as like just how to be an insane multitasker. And
So much appreciation for that. Like, I don't know a woman out there, ranch wife, ranch mom, cowgirl, that, gosh, you have to figure out how to do that at some level,
yes.
or it's not going to work. Like, nothing's going to work.
Oh my God. Exactly. Yeah. So I got that from her, and just watching her just get stuff done, like we are not complaining. We are, doing this for the betterment of our future. And this is what our family stands for. So I just really love that. I learned both of that through the rodeo world, essentially.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I mean, your mom, no doubt, definitely has the cowgirl state of mind and has
Oh, girl,
passed
yeah.
that on to you. And I mean, all that you have created, I'm just in awe of like your business mindset and what you've been able to do just really by having that cowgirl state of mind.
Yes, well, thank you. Yeah, and I agree. She definitely did it. They both instilled that in me, and I'm very grateful for that. So fast forward to when I was in school, and my parents had decided to put me into dance class, and I really loved it. I was actually kind of like naturally pretty good at it. And, with that, watching my dad be a dreamer and making his passion a career, I was like literally from like the third grade, I had that mentality of, okay, what do I love? What do I love to do? Like just so young, but I was just so eager to do something that I love with my life. So even just in third grade dance class, I was like, okay, I really love this. Maybe I can make this a career.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's crazy, but so that's what, literally, Dakota, my plan was, I'm going to dance and I'm going to go to college for this, and then I'm going to open a dance school. So literally from that young age, I was setting myself up for that, what I thought, my future was
Right.
going to look like. And I was able to kind of in my head kind of work backwards from like this big goal I had. What do I need to do to get there? And so that's what I did. I went to school, and then I actually got my first job when I was 14 at Dairy Queen. And then I was traveling to another town close by. I'm from Belfouche, South Dakota, and there's another town called Spearfish, and I was traveling back and forth from Spearfish to home in Belfouche, like 3 times a week, because I had dance class over there, and just like really busy. It kept me really busy. And I had that dream, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do with my life. So I'm like, did the steps necessary to get there. So then after high school, I went to college for a little bit at South Dakota State University, where I was on the dance team there and did some competitive dance with them. And then I actually transferred to Casper, Wyoming, to do more focus on like actual dance performance, because I could get a degree with dance through Casper. So I transferred there, and then I graduated with this dance degree that I always wanted and always dreamed I would get. And so it was pretty neat, but I guess that didn't end up happening. So
Love how you shared, like from the time you're in the third grade and then you're like working backwards, like you have this idea, like you said, you were a dreamer and you're working backwards. So appreciate you sharing, like, you had a job at 14 and you were just the time management skills you were learning, the responsibility, like
seriously,
learning, like how to coordinate all this and how all of that just ties into what you do now, as a business
hmm
owner, and knowing how to roll with the punches, but also plan, like make a plan and let's like get after this dream. So I think it's so neat to hear people's kind of backstory, if you will, because like you said, this is the point where it sounds like things took a shift because
Yep.
you don't have a dance studio.
Nope.
That's
I
not
did
what
not.
Suede Coy is. And so, yes, let's talk about what happened next to bring you into the world of fashion and what you're doing now.
Okay. Amazing. So, through college, obviously you have to pay your bills, and I got a I got a job at a boutique in Casper, and that was really where it kind of started to shift for me. Like this seed was being planted inside of me, and so I mean, I still had planned after college to because I was teaching dance and working a boutique while also going to school. And dancing like 40 hours a week. Like when you're a dance major, it's crazy. You are nonstop, go, go, go. But anyways, so I worked at that boutique and I slowly just kind of started watching my passion shift from that to wow, I really love this industry. I love coming to work and serving women and making them feel confident in clothing because I think as women that's really hard for a lot of us is feeling
Mhm.
good in clothing and knowing how to put things together, even for our bodies. And I was doing that and loving it. And then after college, I actually was recruited to work at the Buckle.
Yeah.
The Buckle. So I was the assistant manager for Casper Buckle for a couple years, and after even I had graduated. So there for a while, I was just full time at the Buckle, teaching some dance classes, and I didn't have that realization of I'm not going to do dance anymore until I moved to where I am now. So my husband and I we're college sweethearts, so that's pretty amazing. I met him at
Okay.
Casper. My brother actually introduced us, so shout out Weston, thank you.
Yeah.
But we moved to Gillette, Wyoming, because my mom and dad had moved over here after my dad retired from rodeo and he was working over here. So they moved over here. We followed them because my husband also rodeos. He had obviously planned to be gone a lot. And if we're going to have kids and all of that, like I want to have family close. So we moved here. And I was sad. I missed my retail job.
Yeah.
And I was hunting all over the place for a dance studio space. And so here I am, 24, planning my wedding and also planning to open a dance studio. And it's the day that I found a space. Gonna sign my lease to open this dance studio. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I just had this feeling like this is just not it for me. um, and I felt a pull back to this is my passion, fashion. And I want to be in the retail industry. And so I was like, I'm not signing this. And I told my family, you guys, I'm not going to do this. I'm actually going to open a boutique. They probably thought I was crazy. They said really nice and supportive things to me.
Well,
But they were,
that's incredible compared to what some people might have said. So that right there was a plus.
yeah. So I think everyone was a little confused with this, but I mean, I don't necessarily love the word impulsive, but I think I am kind of like impulsive, but in a good way. Like
You trust your gut.
yeah, I'm intentional about this feeling that I have. Yeah, my gut. So I acted on it, and like a month after my husband and I got married, I opened Tin Wagon. So that was my very first business, Tin Wagon Boutique, which I actually just recently closed, and we can talk about that later. But so yeah, I opened my storefront in 2016, and there I was working in the retail industry, which had become my passion.
Well, I mean, that's how I came to like know about you as I started
Okay.
following you, but with Tim Wagon Boutique, and then um, just watching that evolve over the years and your style and just the way you were serving people through the internet. Like, I know that might sound like, oh, that's what everybody does, but I feel like you were one of the first boutique owners
Oh
I ever felt that with,
my gosh,
being
I
on
love
the
that.
other side. And anybody that's listening, I mean, whether you're buying from a boutique or not, like you feel sometimes like it's just people throwing stuff up to sell it,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, I might like that graphic tee or I might like this purse. Okay. But like somebody that that's when I was saying earlier, like I was just like drawn to you before we were, push record here. That's what it was for me. It was like, this gal is like being very intentional. She has the gift of discernment and she is like,
Mm.
you know, curating an experience via social media. So, yeah, I would love for you to tell us more about just really those humble beginnings of
Yeah.
Tin Wagon and then how that's transitioned, because a lot has happened over the past few years.
Yeah, so many things. And thank you for all of
Yeah.
that. That means so much to me because genuinely that's what I'm trying to do. And so if it's coming across to people on the other side, like that's so great to hear. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So Tin Wagon Boutique, I was 24. I just loved the Western industry. And so, gosh, that was such a time of like Western influencers were like becoming like this huge thing, and I know so many of those, like Bleacher Babe. I mean, I listened to her podcast here recently that you did with her, and just all of that was kind of taking over the internet, Instagram. And I was like, gosh, I love this movement of like the Western fashion industry. And so that's kind of what Tin Wagon was. It was my expression of the Western fashion. And when I was so young, and that's just before so many life experiences and just becoming who you really are. But I knew I was like on my way to something, and I just had to try to navigate it the best I could. And I'm really proud of myself because I did take that leap of faith, and I literally, here's one thing, like I didn't second guess myself once. And it's like that's something that as an entrepreneur you cannot do. Like I just think that belief in yourself is a necessity. And I think that's why Tin Wagon thrived. Tin Wagon isn't necessarily fully who Kaylee is, but it started as like my vehicle to get to where I was meant to be, which is Suede Coy. Because when I look back on Tin Wagon, it was like not fully at the beginning. Like I was maybe, influenced by other boutiques, and I was kind of copying the trends, and I was kind of doing all of that. And then I think maybe a couple, 2, 3 years into it, I kind of had this realization of like, okay, this is not working. Like I don't want to be like everybody else. I just kind of want to fully step into who Kaylee is. And then I started really, and maybe that might be kind of when you found me on the internet, but I kind of really started to make sure I was staying true to myself in my work. And so even down to, yeah, what clothing are you bringing in? Like I kind of avoided, if I saw something really trending, I was like, I'm not going to get that. Like, because it just didn't make sense for me anymore. Like I didn't want to be trending anymore. So Tin Wagon evolved. It became something that I was so much more proud of. And I mean, obviously, as a business owner, that's what it should do. It should evolve and grow and change as you change. But the last part of Tin Wagon, so I had it for 7 years. Actually, this month we would have celebrated 7 years. But I think through that process of, okay, I'm going to step into Kaylee and kind of just start taking care of my audience, serving them, getting to know them, building a community, relationships, all of that through social media. And I'm going to buy what I like. And, hopefully they like it too. And so, I mean, it turns out it worked. And we had some massive growth at Tin Wagon. And that's one thing that I'm very fortunate to know is like, you will never be able to like learn what I learned without experiencing it. And so taking the lessons I learned from Tin Wagon and all of that growth and, moving it forward into Suede and Coy is going to be really neat. But Tin Wagon, we grew. Like I was on a growth trajectory since I opened, and that's pretty amazing. I feel really blessed that was the situation. But again, I'm very follow my gut kind of human. And here recently, I just felt it on my heart that I had to move on from Tin Wagon, and it was not going to get me where I was meant to be. So that's where Suede and Coy comes in.
Well, and I think, Kaylee, some of the things you said there, like that I want to unpack these two for myself selfishly and our listeners, because it's easy when things are not going the way you want to shift gears and be like, I got to do something different. But from what you're saying, things weren't bad. Like you were on a growth trajectory, and then you knew for whatever reason that this was still not where exactly you're supposed to
Mhm.
be. You knew there was, Suede Coy. And so if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear a little bit about just, any business tips you have on how you were able to move the needle forward during that 7-year, growth period with Tin Wagon, but also like what it's been like closing the chapter on something that wasn't going bad. It was going good.
Yeah.
It was in
No,
a
for
safe
real.
place, to start something new.
Yeah. Okay, so some tips, some business tips. I have some good ones here I think I could offer the audience, but I think in no particular order, let's just talk about how important it is to just be your dang self. Like we hear it over and over and over again, right? Like just be yourself. But really, the moment I decided I am done trying to keep up, like
Yeah.
I just want to be myself. And that's when it truly kind of started to really take off. So being genuine and, humanize your brand. That's a word I really like. I heard it through the Boutique Hub. I'm a member of the Boutique Hub, and Ashley uses that a lot. It goes back to that saying that like people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So that all kind of comes into play when you're building a brand and you're trying to set yourself apart. It's just your audience wants to see you. They want to see what your values are, what your day to day is like. They want to feel like they are your friend.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's tip probably number one. And then just, again, serving people, relationships, that the serving that you were talking about that you felt through my brand, which makes me so happy to hear. But that's honestly the most important thing we're doing as business owners is serving. I mean, that should be our priority, is how can we make this single person feel good and feel better than they did before they either came in contact with our social media or came into our presence at our local like storefront or whatever. And just spreading light. That service has got to be the most important thing, actually, in my opinion. And that's something that I kind of came to and even more realization here lately with Suede and Coy, and I could talk about that in a minute. But yeah, service, that should be like top priority. Going back to just kind of what makes a successful business and one that can grow is just having systems in place. So that was something that when we were actually in our top like growth year, like our systems were incredible. I had a small team. I never really had a huge team at Tin Wagon. I had myself, my mom, I had an assistant manager, and maybe a part-timer, and we each had our jobs. We each had a part of the business that was ours, and we were running it, and we had just such smooth systems. And it was like a well-oiled machine. And I think that's what your business needs to be in order to, number one, scale it, but also sustain it.
Yes. Having that clarity on what each person's responsible for, because I feel like just in speaking from being on the sales side and working with a larger corporation, it's so hard sometimes when the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And then you
Yeah.
spend more time trying to fix messes that honestly sometimes they could have been avoided had there been thorough communication, but it's harder. The bigger your staff gets, the larger. If you don't have those strategies and systems in place,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what's going to happen. So yeah, really, really valid point there. Great call out.
Yeah, systems. And then just consistency. So, I mean, you have to show up inside your business every single day and for your audience every single day. Like, marketing, like, your marketing strategy needs to be so well rounded because it's telling a story. It's trying to connect with those people to bring them even into your community to want to stick around, even just watch, let alone maybe buy from you one day. That consistency, without that, you're not gonna, move forward either.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many. I'm over here taking notes. I don't know about you guys listening. If you're not taking notes yet, you
Oh my
should
gosh.
go back, get your pen and paper out, get your phone out because it is. I mean, just so many nuggets right there.
When it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle, it can feel lonely sometimes, like you're down in the trenches trying to do all the things. But I want to share with you that it doesn't have to feel that way. I joined the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership in May of 2020, and y'all, it has been such a gift. It has allowed me to connect with women with that Western and rural background that simply get it. They understand what I'm working with. We get to share strategies, encouragement, and hold each other accountable as we're pursuing goals in all of these different areas of life. To learn more, visit cowgirlsovercoffee.com or check out episode 45 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast that features the founder of Cowgirls Over Coffee, Thea Larson. I hope to see you there.
So, Kaylee, what did it feel like, and what kind of response did you get when you decided to close the chapter on Tin Wagon to pursue Suede Coy?
Oh man. Okay. So this is going to get a little personal and stuff, but I'm here to be open and transparent. So like I said earlier, I'm a pretty, just kind of listen to your gut human. And there was this evening I was at home, just late night folding my family's clothes. And I was sitting alone and just kind of thinking. And because at this point, so let me backtrack a little. I had planned to do Tin Wagon, but also planned to do Suede Coy, which is it's my fashion label, and I named it after my children. So my daughter's name is Suede, and then my son's name is Briggs McCoy. So I took Coy from that. So I was planning to do both, but also, I'm a wife and a mom too.
Yeah.
So I was I think what it really was Kaylee, how are you going to do all of this, But
Yeah.
honestly, at the start of 2023, I was kind of really working on my relationship with God. And I by no means was going down a dark path or whatever. I have always been a Christian, but I knew I missed him, and I knew that I missed his presence, and I wasn't seeking his presence daily and stuff like that. So I started studying the Bible and getting back into all of that, and really kind of just trying to lean on him more throughout my days. And there was this one day earlier in the year where I kind of was really emotional. I was crying, and I was just kind of felt maybe God, do you want me here? Right? Where do you want me? Am I supposed to be at Tin Wagon doing this forever? What is my path, And I was just asking him. And maybe a month or two later, on the couch folding laundry, I had this feeling, this just overwhelming feeling that I should let go of Tin Wagon. And I 100% believe that was God telling me to do that, because I would never have imagined I would walk away from Tin Wagon. Because like you said, it wasn't bad. We were doing fine. We were doing great. And I had this feeling of, okay, let go of Tin Wagon, move on, and let's focus on Suede Coy. I kind of had a chat with my husband the following day. Like I said, I'm very okay, here's how I feel. How do we execute it?
I can so appreciate that. I love that.
How do I tell people that I love, that this is what's on my mind and this is what I think we should do? And he was obviously supportive. It just kind of made sense. And I think why it made sense is because what I was really trying to build with Suede Coy was a service-based business where yes, okay, a boutique, you're serving people, but it's not to the extent that Suede Coy is serving people. And so it's more of a very special, one-on-one experience at Suede Coy. And with the boutique industry, you have people coming in your store, it's busy, you're not able to just really focus on each guest individually while they shop with you. And that's my passion. What I have come to understand is I am extremely passionate about the one-on-one, making somebody feel special.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted Suede Coy to be, was this private shopping experience. So it's a showroom. So I have a showroom downtown where guests can have an appointment with me. They can come alone, or they can bring a few friends with them, because I do also want it to feel like a fun, girls' day out thing. So when they come, I'm offering beverages. I have this menu and I can make them some mocktails or iced coffees or something. And then I usually get a treat, some cookies or something like that. And they can kind of just be served while they're shopping. So it's a very personal experience. And I'm not able to do that in the boutique industry. It's just there's too much going on. So I wanted to simplify and I wanted to really hone in on this is what I'm most passionate about is service, but also on top of that, building collections. So that's where the fashion label kind of it made sense to move forward with just focusing on the fashion label and what I'm most passionate about, kind of getting rid of other layers that maybe I'm not so passionate about.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Kaylee, I have a cowgirl confession here. Okay.
Okay.
So the first time that I saw you make your announcement, like for Suede Coy, and anybody listen to this, I don't know if this was just a Southern thing, like back in the early 90s, maybe, I don't know, but it took me to this like nostalgic place of think of like Tupperware sales ladies, but the jumpers that were super cool back in the day. And I remember this lady coming, like it's a big deal. She came to our house and we had this party. My mom had this party for her, and I got this jumper because my mom had so many friends come buy these jumpers. But this lady was literally coming, like had a van full of these different jumpers. I mean, mine was like that I got, Kaylee. I'll have to find it and send it to you. It had like a
Yes,
Dalmatian
please.
on this like blue and green plaid. And I was the coolest thing in the 90s.
Heck
But
yeah.
anyway, my whole point of sharing this with you is it took me down this path of when you made this post, and I'm like, wow, like such a simpler idea of just serving people, showing up,
Yes.
building community. And it's not like overwhelming. Like this lady didn't have a huge assortment of stuff when she came to our house. It's like, okay, here's the 10 patterns, here's the different fits, the mommy and me.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was like this whole thing. And then when I see you sharing this, I'm like, she has taken this experience that I have a childhood memory with, but like
Oh my gosh.
created it in a way that it's a much more elegant, elevated experience, not Dalmatians on jumpers type of deal. But I felt so drawn to this whole, I feel like this new way of doing business that you've created,
Wow.
Suede Coy. And so anyway, that's my personal side note, my confession.
I have goosebumps right now because when you said, what did you say? Simpler.
Yeah.
Yes, it's such a more simple business model. And that's kind of what it is. I was like, okay, what can I do to kind of get rid of the things I'm not so passionate about and just focus in on a few things I'm so overly passionate about? And what can I do with that as a business? And so, yes, simplifying, that's literally what it was. And also, creating more time freedom. Because here's this thing as entrepreneurs, we're like, well, this was one of my big things. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be able to make my own schedule. And, if I don't want to go to work, then I just want to be with my kids, then that's fine because I'm the business owner. But that's really just not how it works. Like when you own this business, it's like you're being pulled and pulled and pulled. And time was limited. It just was. And so it was a way for me to also here I have these appointments or here's my schedule. You can come shop with me on these days at this time and then the rest of my schedule is free for my children, my husband or whatever, my me time
Yeah.
cuz that's also so important. But yeah, it was the time freedom. It really is just this season that I'm in where I have realized just the value of my time and I wanted to take it back. Because when you're a business owner too, it costs a lot of money to have time freedom.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you understand the concept of Suede and Coy.
I do. And I'm like, I have it on the bucket list that like I'm going to get to come in and shop in your showroom and experience the whole shebang. Like I'm
Yes.
going to at some point. But the cool part is that me as well as all the listeners, if we're not local, that I think that's something that we should have mentioned before is like when you were running Tim Wagon, you were omni-channel. You weren't just online. You weren't just brick and mortar. You did both. And that's something you're also offering with Suede and Coy, which is incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I've gotten really passionate about is serving online, and how can I serve my audience online differently than everybody else, or try to at least, because like you said, Suede and Koi is an elevated shopping experience. They're not getting anywhere else really. I mean, because it's kind of like a customized business model, but I thought, what could I do to kind of do the same for online shoppers? And so that's where I have a VIP pass. That's where that comes into play. So I offer the VIP pass to guests who want to shop collections first. So they can use this password and enter the showroom online first. They get a full 24 hours during the collection launch to shop first and see everything and just get the best selection of sizes. They get free shipping, discounts, and all the goods. So it's an extra layer to my online services that I wanted to provide, just to kind of make those online gals feel like super special too, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's no easy feat, like the art of serving online, because I feel like it has to be very like uniquely you, as
Mhm.
cliche as that sounds, because it has to be something that like as you're selling that idea and experience to somebody, like you believe in it, and it's something you can really lean into. And I feel like that's why, probably one of the reasons you've been so successful, because I really enjoy watching, because I'm again not getting to shop with you locally, so it's all
Right.
online based that I'm getting this experience, and it's different, and it's like it sets you apart. And so I think, with that, Kaylee, what are some of the things that you're doing as you're in, stepping into this new season and in this new season, that are helping you stay confident in how to move this forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is kind of like a unique business model. And I still do have a lot of gals who are like, I just don't understand. Like, what is this? And, I just let them know that you have to experience it to fully grasp the concept. So they're coming in, they're making appointments. And when they do make those appointments or experience the full experience online, they are letting me know that, okay, this is really neat. And I see what you're doing here and I appreciate it. So I think just knowing that it is different, it kind of keeps me super motivated because I'm able to have this idea and make it a real thing, just kind of serve women differently. And that's what is really motivating me, I think, to just make this thing sustainable, I guess.
So, just I've noticed, Kaylee, how you are really good about, sharing like your health journey and personally, just the things you're doing to set you up for success. So, it's inspiring for me, and I would love to know just some specific ways that you really work to like keep that self confidence. Stay mentally strong. What are some things you're doing there that are flowing over into Suede and Coy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some things that help me to really just kind of stay mentally strong are, I am a huge believer of personal development. I do that every single day. There's some podcast I'm listening to, because I'm a huge multitasker. So I'll listen to podcasts in the car or when I'm steaming clothing or something. And it's just a way for me to kind of just learn. I mean, gaining new knowledge, like, you have to do that consistently, and especially in the field that you're passionate about, to keep being successful. So number one would just be personal development in the Bible, and prayer is important for me, for my mindset. And I think a lot of people, just kind of going back to the self-confidence that you touched on, I think it's important to understand, like, what is confidence. And a lot of people think it's like based off of your looks, and it's really not. Basically, and you believe that you are capable of figuring it out. Just that belief in yourself. So doing things like gratitude throughout my day, that would help generate more self-confidence, because when you show gratitude for just the things you have in your life already and accomplishments you've made already in your life, like, you have a more abundant like mindset. So gratitude is huge. I'll go on like my evening walks and my kids are in bed and I'll go alone out on the gravel road and I'll use that time for gratitude and just thank God for everything I have. Like, I mean, that's so important to generate confidence too, you know, really taking care of yourself. So as you mentioned, I share a lot of my physical, like my health and fitness journey postpartum. I had a baby 9 months ago, so I'm sharing a lot of that online. And I think that if I can show women that when you take care of yourself physically and you have good diet or you're trying at least, you know, to take care of yourself internally, then the confidence comes like that's generated through those types of actions. And so that's kind of why I share that journey online is because self-confidence is generated through internal work.
Absolutely. And I enjoy, that's the thing. It's like, yes, you're selling clothes, but you're doing more than that. You're selling an experience and telling a story. Because
Yeah.
when I think of, you and whether it was Tin Wagon or now Suede and Coy, I think of I'm like, well, I really enjoy her and, wanting to make that connection to that, end up
Mhm.
leading potentially, it can lead to a reason for people to want to buy from you. So
Absolutely.
well, thank you so much. Those were some great, just really great feedback on what you're doing for self-confidence and to stay mentally strong. And
Yeah.
Kaylee, I just think that, the world needs more cowgirls with more cowgirl state of mind. And so I like to ask all of our guests, like, what does the cowgirl state of mind, what does that mean to you? So I'd love to know your take on that.
Absolutely. I think the cowgirl state of mind is one that is like you're unapologetically, we're not making excuses. We're taking initiative and we're figuring it out. And if we see something that needs to get done, we're getting it done. Just high achievers, I guess, if you will. And I think that the cowgirl state of mind is one that prioritizes faith, kind of just spreading light, in this world. It's just such a dark place sometimes. And it's so important while we're here to be a positive light in the world and hopefully make a difference. I mean, that's my goal is to somehow make a little difference in the world through clothing, I guess, and all the other layers I'm doing. But yeah, so she's just spreading light and she's being kind. She's a go-getter.
Well, you are definitely a go-getter. I mean, we've just scratched the surface, I feel like today, Kaylee, on
I know.
all you've been able to do, not just business-wise, but I mean, literally in less than a decade, you've gotten married, grown a beautiful family, multiple businesses, Tin Wagon, Finer Lips, now Suede and Coy. And so with that in mind, what do you hope the next 5-10 years, what are you hoping that looks like?
Oh gosh. I'm really big on just like what can I do now to build just a good life. And so, I mean, that's what I do in the now to set myself and my family up for the future, whether it's 5, 10 years, or just the ultimate goal. When
Yes.
I am done here, build a good life filled with, joy, wonderful memories, experiences with my family. It's a life that you live where you feel fulfilled. Your heart got to do what it was called to do, and you were a good human while you were here. So just building that good life, that's what my ultimate goal is. And I think a lot of people maybe have like financial goals or whatever, and I'm just not really one that like kind of focuses too much on financial goals. I'm more of like, if you really pursue something you believe in, you're passionate about, you put your all into it, you will be rewarded for it. And I don't want to I don't want to dream up this financial goal when, I mean, honestly, who knows what that could look like for myself and my family if I'm showing up every day with intention. Yeah, just building a good life.
Yeah.
And also raising good, kind, hardworking humans
And
that
that
can
that in itself is such a heavy load.
oh, oh my gosh.
In the
Yes.
most wonderful way, but it's just like every day it's like, okay, as a mom, it's like, am I doing, God, just help me do the right things
Oh,
to
I
raise
know.
good humans. Oh, so I feel that on so many levels, and I
I know.
our listeners feel that too, and just that ultimate goal of like you said, building a really rich life, not from the
Yeah,
financial necessarily. It can be, I mean, but rich in ways more than just monetarily. So
absolutely.
Kaylee, thank you so much for your time today. And I would be remiss if I did not mention this, because we were talking before the episode, and this is such a cool part of your story too, that because I'm just imagining like you and your husband and Suede and Briggs, and you have a cool story about your horse Switch. So please
Oh,
share with our
yeah.
listeners the story on Switch really quick.
Okay. So my dad, he has bucking horses. He raises bucking horses. And there was this one switch, we call him. He wasn't too much of a bucker. Like he, yeah, he needed to do something else with his life. So my dad and my husband actually worked out this deal where Zach was gonna get to take Switch home and kind of see if he's worth anything as a saddle horse. And turns out he's a very, very good saddle horse. So I actually ride an ex bucking horse, but he's honestly just one of those horses you can literally trust anything or anybody on. Like anybody could ride him. And just a loving, like he just wants all the attention. He just wants to hug you. He just wants to be pet. But just a really good one of those really good horses.
There's no better way than like truly that's wonderfully wild and western right there, when you take you've got an ex bucking horse as your saddle horse and the kids horse and
Yeah,
things like that.
exactly.
So cool. Well, Kaylee, please let's tell everybody how they can follow along with you and Suede and Coy for what is all in the works.
So I am on Instagram as Suede and Coy, Facebook as Suede and Coy. So Facebook, it's going to be Suede +Coy. And I am on TikTok. I do my personal name on TikTok, Kaylee Mae Phillips. So that's where I'm at over there. I mean, that's it for now. We'll see. I mean, gosh, there's so many new platforms popping up every day.
Absolutely. So, well, guys, you can find her on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'll be sure to put her contact, links in the show notes. And Kaylee, this was such a gift today. Thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. It really was just wonderful getting to know you a little better.
Oh my gosh, Dakota, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And yeah, again, I'm honored to have been here. So have a really great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.